Hi friends, this is a gathering or a Ruffles sewing tutorial for my friend Holly and any other sewers who need just a little guidance. The first thing you need to know is how many stitches per inch. A regular stitch has about 8 to 12 little stitches per inch, and I think the gathering stitch is about 6 or fewer stitches per inch. The fewer stitches per inch makes it so much easier for pulling the threads when you get to the point of gathering. So for gathering, you need 2 rows of those really loose stitches of like 6 little stitches per inch. And a typical sewing seam is 5/8 of an inch. So your first row of sewing will be just over an inch from the edge of the fabric, and the second row is basically at the edge of the pressure foot. So the edge of the pressure foot is on this very close edge of your material. So it makes it so easy to follow along the edge of the material. So you sew the 2 rows, leaving enough thread on the ends so that you can very easily pull the ends. Then you figure out if it's the bottom thread or the top thread that is easiest to gently pull. I forgot to mention that if you want to make it more even, you need to, like the ruffles even at some point, you mark the middle and halfway points of the material. And if it's a shorter piece of material, you can just eye the gathering to make them even. So you gently pull the 2 rows simultaneously and go to the halfway point. And then you gently pull from the same side of the threads from the opposite end of your material. And you gently slide the gathers back and forth along the 2 sides until everything looks pretty even. Then you take your material that you're going to be sewing your ruffles to, and you go from the center of that material to the center of your gathered material, and you just start pinning very carefully every couple of inches or so. And you adjust along the way. Make it centered, make it pretty. Then you very carefully put the pressure foot down and you start sewing literally right between those 2 rows of gathered thread. And I might have accidentally sewn a piece that wasn't supposed to be sewn. So you just have to slip stitch it out and you start over again. It's okay. If you mess up, you just start over again. Sometimes the stitch ripper is your best friend. So let's try this again. You sew between the 2 rows and you use 8 to 10, 12 stitches per inch, and you just gently sew and make sure you're not doubling up the single piece of material while you're trying to sew the gathering. You have to be just really diligent in watching what you're sewing. So you make sure to always end your sewing with the needle up unless you're pivoting on a corner of a sewing piece, and see how I went back and forth there, I don't always, hardly ever, tie knots. I just usually use the reverse button and do a reverse back and forth a couple of times. And then see how you have your gathers there. Then you take the threads from the gathered side and you gently pull those loose stitches out. And right down the middle, you kind of snip that top stitch, pull the thread, it comes right out. Super easy. Gently on the other side, pull those 2 threads, and then on the back side, you're going to have easy peasy getting rid of the little threads of the gathers. So there you go. You have a gathered piece. And I actually used an old pillow slip for this, and I made it into a little apron for my granddaughter. So the rest of this, I'm going to have it going really fast so it's not boring. But there, see, there was a corner where you pivot and you have your needle staying down when the pressure foot goes up. But typically the needle is up when the pressure foot goes up. So there you go. I made a cute little apron for my granddaughter. I hope she likes it. All right. Holly, I hope this helps you, and I can see Holly in person and help her too. I love sewing. Y'all have a good day. Happy sewing. Bye-bye.